Hello, everyone. This is social worker Greg. Happy to be back with you on Relaxation Wednesday. Today is August 24th, 2022. And the title for today's talk is Awe. That's AWE. Awe. But before we get started, I would just like to note that typically at this point I would guide us through some kind of arriving meditation. Instead, I'd really like you to consider this entire talk a meditation. Noting really that while we're together, there is nothing that you need to do. That you simply can rest in this time and allow your fundamental easygoing nature to arise on its own. Allowing your fundamental friendliness or kindness to arise also. These qualities are already there in all of us. They sometimes, however, get covered up by our busyness and other conditions. So, when I was thinking about this talk, I shared some preliminary thoughts with my wife, Nikki, on the topic, and she said, "Why did you pick such a hard one?" And actually, I'm wondering that now. How do you talk about awe when it's an experience beyond the realm of words? And I don't mean mystical, that is, beyond our senses, since awe is really all about the senses. How do I invite you to awe when it's not a destination? Awe is already here. So indeed, I think this topic is a challenging one, and fortunately I have some help for this session. My poetic helper is Wendell Berry. Albert Camus is my literary helper, and in particular his work, The Myth of Sisyphus. The Peace of the Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world, and I am free. Think of a time when you experienced awe. When was it? Were you with someone? What were the sights and sounds? Sense into the feelings you had during this experience, maybe the tastes and smells also. What were the tactile aspects of your awe experience? I asked a few friends before today if they could recall a personal experience of awe. And I could see a memory returning in the eyes of each one. There was wonder and a bit of longing in each voice as they shared the details of their awe experience with me. I think all humans experience awe. Barry experienced awe in nature, and perhaps your recollection of a personal awe experience included nature also. But awe arises in other ways, like in beautiful music. Mozart's The Marriage of Figaro or Disturbed's cover of The Sound of Silence. Awe can arise in the arms of someone we love, during birth or death, when meditating or praying. Awe can even arise during the mundane tasks of life. Nikki and I lived in Flagstaff, Arizona for 20 years, which is near the Grand Canyon. One fall evening, I sat on the canyon rim at Yaqui Point. The sun was setting. It was beautiful. The colors were vibrant and the shadows grew. The canyon was cut by the once mighty Colorado River, now a thin, dark ribbon a mile below. The canyon was vast, and the north rim, whose walls are about 1,000 feet higher, was clear in the distance. Dozens of massive formations, such as Vishnu and Zoroaster temples, names befitting their majesty, stood below me. Spires, ridges, boulders, clear blue skies, and clouds of white floated across my field of view. There were mesquite and scrub oak and little chipmunks, and there was quiet. Even the handful of other tourists talked little and only in hushed tones. There was peace and wonder. I rested in the experience. I had lost my mind. What happened that evening was a dissolving of the self or ego. There was no longer subject and object. There was no longer me and the canyon. There was only direct experience and rest, awe. The Silence by Wendell Berry. Though the air is full of singing, my head is loud with the labor of words. Though the season is rich with fruit, my tongue hungers for the sweet of speech. Though the beach is golden, I cannot stand beside it and mute, but must say, it is golden, while the leaves stir and fall with a sound that is not a name. It is in the silence that my hope is and my aim. A song whose lines I cannot make or sing sounds men's silence like a root. Let me say and not mourn, the world lives in the death of speech and sings there. I sat resting on the canyon rim, and then the mind kicked back in, as it is natural for the mind to do. Our minds secrete thoughts in the same way that our salivary glands secrete saliva. And I thought, as I sat, I'm just a speck in this canyon, a speck on the world, dust in the universe, and less than dust on the scale of the 100 billion galaxies. My thoughts continued, what is the meaning of it all? How do I understand my life in context of disorder and chaos I experience when I'm not at the rim of the Grand Canyon? Why is there so much suffering and death? These were the questions that came to mind as the sunset dissolved into the horizon. Woods Poem by Wendell Berry. I part the out-thrusting branches and come in beneath the blessed and the blessing trees. Though I am silent, there is singing around me. Though I am dark, there is vision around me. Though I am heavy, there is flight around me. There is an existential tension that comes from our big brains and our consciousness. On one hand, there's the human need for happiness, meaning, and order. And from order, I think we derive a sense of security. On the other hand, in our daily lives, we see ample evidence of disorder and chaos, suffering and death. My Grand Canyon experience really was a microcosm of this tension. While I was there, I experienced awe and confusion and anxiety. How do we respond to this tension? Many of us find solace, relief from the tension through religious traditions. Religion provides community, meaning, and guidelines for life. Answers to life's questions are found in faith and through church doctrine. Science and reason are another source of meaning and order. Science seeks the laws of nature so our future can be predicted and perhaps controlled. Answers to life's questions are found through analysis and rational thought. Religion and science are maps meant to explain our experience. They're meant to be maps that guide us through our experience. But maps are not the experience. Maps, as they detail religion and science, are realms of the mind. The Hidden Singer by Wendell Berry. The gods are less for their love of praise. Above and below them all is a spirit that needs nothing but its own wholeness, its health and ours. It has made all things by dividing itself. It will be whole again. To its joy we come together, the seer and the seen, the eater and the eaten, the lover and the loved. In our joining, it knows itself. It is with us then, not as the gods whose names crest in unearthly fire, but as the little bird hidden in the leaves who sings quietly and waits and sings. When we go to a restaurant, we look at a menu. It might even have pictures of tasty-looking entrees and desserts. The map is a menu of the food the restaurant prepares. Confusing the map and our experience is like eating the menu. Buddhists say, don't mistake the finger pointing toward the moon for the moon. The map is not the terrain. The myth of Sisyphus. The story of Sisyphus is from Greek mythology. Sisyphus was a mortal. He was a trickster who cheated death twice. When the gods caught up with him, they sentenced him to an eternity of futile labor. He was to push a stone up a hill, where upon reaching the top, the stone would roll back to the valley under its own weight. Over and over he pushed the stone. The gods could think of no worse punishment, a futile task he could not escape. I think all of us at times feel a little bit like Sisyphus. We work hard, it seems, endlessly with dubious results. The cycles of home and work life repeat over and over, generation after generation, really. It's that being on the treadmill feeling. Camus ends the telling of the myth of Sisyphus in this way. Sisyphus strains and grimaces and toils, pushing the stone up the hill. At the top, he watches, face placid, as the stone teeters and rolls down to the valley for the 1000th time. Sisyphus smiles as he descends. Sisyphus is happy. Camus says Sisyphus does not push against the stone. Sisyphus rests in his toil. He smiles and is happy as he returns to the valley, because the realm of mind where absurdity and thoughts of futility arise has dissolved. Sisyphus is the stone. All that remains is direct experience, awe. The Real Work poem by Wendell Berry. It may be that when we no longer know what to do, we have come to our real work, and that when we no longer know which way to go, we have come to our real journey. The mind that is not baffled is not employed. The impeded stream is the one that sings. When I first read the last line of Berry's poem, "The impeded stream is the one that sings," I was baffled. Mission accomplished, Wendell. Usually when we think of Brooks, we think of Brooks babbling. How is it that the dammed stream, the impeded one, is the one that sings? I think Berry's suggesting that obstacles in our lives, sorrow, confusion, fear, and the myriad other forms that obstacles can take in our daily experience, they provide the conditions for song. If awe were a coin, joy and sorrow would be its faces. If awe were a coin, joy and sorrow would be its faces. A Warning to My Readers by Wendell Berry. Do not think me gentle because I speak in praise of gentleness, or elegant because I honor the grace that keeps this world. I am a man crude as any, gross of speech, intolerant, stubborn, angry, full of fits and furies. That I may have spoken well at times is not natural. A wonder is what it is. So, once again, I want to thank you for joining me today for this time together. And I want to underline and honor the fundamental friendliness, easygoingness, and stability that is your nature. It's your birthright. And I guess I would end by saying our time together has been truly awesome. Thanks so much, and have a lovely evening.